Now that you've drawn the ColourJot layout, let's label the steps. To draw the layout and label, we recommend Sakura Pigma Micron pens, either in the PN, which is a plastic nib, or a 0.8, which is a fine tip. A Faber-Castell brush marker in gray is also handy. I use bulldog clips to hold my book flat and make the label easy. Like a clock, I'm going to number it 1 to 18, clockwise around the whole color circle. This essential numbering will help provide organization and reference in the future. As we place our colors, 1 to 9 are going to be warm. So the right-hand side of the book will be warm colors. 10 to 18 will be on the cool side. I'm going to outline spot 1, 7, and 13. These are the prime spots. Between the primes, there are 5 mixing spaces. In the 5 spaces between each prime, I'm going to mark the halfway point. So 5 spots means there is a halfway point. So mark 4, 10, and 16 just with a little dot to remind you in the future that this will be your halfway mixing point. Stay tuned for part 3 where I show you exactly how to do the incremental mixing between the two colors. Next comes the instructions for what the inner rings are. So I'm marking an arrow towards the center. The inner rings are where we track the tints. This is adding white to the color to dilute it and lighten it. We lighten colors in watercolor by adding more water to create a lighter color. So the outside is the richest color, then comes a slightly lighter color, and then the center ring is your lightest. Now let's add our good notes from the color circle onto the color grid and see the relationship between the two. So here again, we're numbering 1 to 9 on the top row and 10 to 18 on the bottom row. And circle 1, 7, and 13 as our prime spots and mark a dot on 4, 10, and 16 as our halfway points. And just like on the color circle, we will have a triadic relationship between the primes and their halfway mixing points. Mark the top warm and the bottom cool. Mixing the warm and cools, of course, will be complementary mixing. So let's mark that in our books to remind us that mixing the top and the bottom are complementary. And of course, colors that are close to each other on the color wheel or transition from one color to the other are called analogous. So we do have analogous colors all around the outside of our watercolor circle and along the horizontal part of our color grid. ColourJot art books are meant to be great references. So the next step is to mark down the exact colors that you're using. So the number, the name, the transparency, the light fastness, and the pigment. I write that down for each color. This will help me have a great reference in the future. In part 3, we will talk about how the incremental mixing will go from color 1 to color 7 or color 1 to color 10. It's all about incremental mixing, understanding how color relationships appear. So stay tuned for part 3. If you're fitting everything on a 2-page spread of an 8x8 book, you have a little bit less room, so you can write smaller. I write big for the purpose of videos, but if you have teeny handwriting, then the 8x8 sketchbook is nice and compact. There's also plenty of room to write in the accordion book by Etcher. You might write your numbers smaller along the inside, leaving lots of clean blank space for future notes. And as you get more accomplished in the ColourJot system, you might only have to write the color names down. ColourJot is simple and it repeats the same every time, regardless of the color. So your choice of book is either preference or what you have on hand. An 8x10 is nice and big, it's good for display, it's good for teaching, where an A5 or the accordion book is more compact. You're ready for part 3.